Hey everyone, George here, the Disney Italiano, coming to you on location at DCA, downstairs in the Lamplight Lounge. And we got a OG here, and we also got a special friend with us today.
Hello. I know I did the same thing.
Yes.
There you go.
And we're going to have a discussion about not what you think at a Disney park. We're actually going to be talking about Universal's Epic Universe. Try saying that 3 times fast. But some news dropped today during the time of this filming, and we got some interesting takes on it, to say the least. But our friend here wants to have a little discussion on it, and I thought it'd be quite interesting.
Oh, I want to have a discussion about it.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I think it's just, I think in our world of certainly the Disney fan world, and we've grown up with the Disney parks and whatnot, I think Universal has always been that secondary park, I mean, I remember back in the 80s when I first went to Universal Studios Hollywood. There was no Universal Orlando. And it was just, the studio tour, which was about 2 hours long.
Right.
And then you had 4 shows, I think you went through, 4 studio shows. And then you look at today Universal, which is great. I applaud them for wanting to, take on Disney and get into that arena and really try to push the envelope for their world. It's great because it also helps Disney to stay on their toes. Where we are today is interesting. I remember when Michael Eisner initially was running the parks back after, post fall of 1984. I remember Universal MCA that wanted to take on Disney big time at the time. Like they were ready to go toe to toe. That's when they announced their Florida studio park. We won't belabor the whole story, but that's when, Michael decided they were going to do an entertainment pavilion at Epcot, and that's when that switched from that to we're building our own studio park in Florida. And they literally rushed to get it done before Universal could open.
Wow.
And then Michael Eisner, announced a whole downtown Disney kind of concept up in Burbank, literally like just a half a mile from Universal Studios. Once again, it was both companies that were taking aims at each other. So this rivalry goes back a long time. But now here we are. Florida is about ready to have their 3rd Universal park open. They think that they're going to play in the Disney League of the theme park world. And now we'll see if Epic does it live up to its name. I mean, it's pretty bold for a company to build a park and call itself Epic.
Right. No, it is. It is. And one of the things too is that I think the fandom, I mentioned this a lot of times on the channel, right, George? The fandom has really, really set the expectations for this park now. Because we've been hearing for years and years and years how this thing is going to change the game, it's going to revolutionize the theme park industry. The standard right now is way up here, and can it live up to that? I'm not so sure. I mean, I think it's going to be a good park. I think it'll be a fun park.
Yeah.
But we're already seeing kind of cracks in the expectations. Right. We saw with Donkey Kong, the roller coaster.
Yep.
The expectations for that were through the roof, right?
And it's not much more than a Luxor attraction in Las Vegas.
Right.
I hate to say it, but when I saw the point of view camera on that ride,
right,
it'll be a fun ride, but it was not. It wasn't something I would have expected from the Luxor Pyramid in Vegas, and some of the cheesy rides that they were doing back, in the 90s.
Well, this Donkey Kong ride was supposed to be. I've been hearing fans say this was the thing that was going to get them into the park.
The game changer, right?
The game changer attraction.
Game changer.
And look, it's a cute kid roller coaster, but is it this massively innovative thing that was promised, or what the fans were expecting? I don't think so. Now, I'll give it a fair shot. I'll ride it. I'll see. Maybe it will be.
Right.
But based on what we've seen so far, I don't think it is.
Right.
And that's why anytime somebody says from the very beginning about Epic Universe, when they said this was going to be the park of all parks that was going to bring Disney to its knees. This is the next generation theme park. All I'm seeing is Islands of Adventure 2.0. That's all I'm seeing.
100%. I mean, and I will give Universal credit. They aren't the ones who have said that. It's been the fan, the Universal fanboys that have said that. Um, but with that said, when I look at, and none of us have been in the park yet, so to be fair, we are prejudging something that hasn't opened up yet. So I'll give Universal a fair shake on that. I hate when people do that to Disney stuff that hasn't opened up either. But with that said, what we have seen so far, unlike many other park construction in the past, we have people like, I'm going to probably screw up his name, but
Bioreconstruct, yes.
Reconstruct, yeah. He has had access, obviously, to a helicopter or something, and he's been able to take photos from above, which is amazing because we've been able to detail the progress of this park being built over the last few years. Probably more so than any other that we've ever had in the past.
Yeah.
So with that said, we've been able to have some insights into what they've been building. I will tell you, the windmill with the flames is pretty damn amazing.
That's incredible.
I will definitely love to see that. Maybe not on a hot, humid day, but I can't wait to see that, especially at night, like totally flare up.
Very cool.
But with that said, I'm seeing roller coaster after roller coaster after roller coaster. Is that your answer to an epic experience? I mean, if you're a thrill seeker, maybe, then go to Magic Mountain, which is the roller coaster capital of the world.
Yes.
Or Cedar Fair, or Cedar Point. Universal, even Disney, not necessarily known for cutting-edge roller coasters. Roller coasters that entertain, yes, but not cutting-edge thrill roller coasters.
Right.
Well,
and the thing, too, with the roller coasters is I think a lot of times, and a lot of people don't want to admit this, right? But I think a lot of times Universal opts for the big roller coaster because it gives them permission to only have to theme the queue.
Correct.
Right?
And take credit for the themed queue and load station. But nobody holds them accountable to the fact that once that train leaves the station, haggards aside, we won't bring haggards into it because they did, obviously, that was about show elements with the ride.
Right.
But beyond that, it's a basic roller coaster at that point. Once the train leaves the station, it's a basic roller coaster.
Exactly.
And honestly, that's what's worrisome for me with Villains Land, because they said that the two major e-tickets was going to be an immersive dark ride and a roller coaster. And I just hope that Disney delivers a little more, that if it's going to be an outdoor roller coaster.
You mean Universal?
No, I mean like with
Disney?
That's what worries me, because I don't want to see
them cut the corners
Exactly.
because, good point.
Yeah.
Well, and if they do, I mean, when you look at, you don't want to look at me. No, when you look at things like, let's say, for example, let's jump over to Disney for 1 second. So, okay, they put in Toy Story Land. Not necessarily my favorite, and I'm really glad that it didn't come here to the West Coast, thank God. So, Florida, enjoy Toy Story Land. But Slinky Dog, it's basic. It's not anything to write home about. It wasn't one of Disney's, we put a lot of, gusto and money and everything into that one. But at least, the poles that support the track are themed.
Well, and at least the expectations for that weren't this is going to be the thing to end all things.
No, because you are in a land where we're supposed to be the size of toys in the land.
Right.
So that's really, so you're right. The expectations of what was set for the land is, okay, it's a Slinky Dog ride. That's a Slinky Dog toy.
Exactly.
But if we start to see Disney put out another roller coaster, for example, okay, fully transparent, where are we? We're in Disney California Adventure right now.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're at a nice beverage establishment down on the waterfront, but we're right next to a roller coaster called the Incredicoaster.
Right.
Now, as much as this park has gotten the crap beat out of it by Disney fans in the past, whether rightly justified or not, that's a whole other debate. But the Incredicoaster, originally California Screamin', is based on a classic woody wooden roller coaster of the waterfronts, waterfront parks of California coast. Disney didn't have to spend the extra amount of money to literally build all of the crisscrossing metal structure to give that look to the entire coaster. They didn't have to do that. None of that is structural integrity to hold the coaster track up, because it's supported by the normal coaster pylons that support the track. So Disney didn't have to go to that, but they did because it fits the narrative and the theme of what Paradise Pier was back then.
Like the Woody coaster. But
Right.
yeah, a lot of that none of that has to do with the actual operation of the coaster.
No, not at all. I mean, it's probably one of the most secure coasters that comes to an earthquake because of all the extra amount of steel that went into it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't built that way to support, the coaster itself.
Right.
It was purely for theming. And yet, many overlook that and take it for granted and don't give Disney credit for what they did, some 24 years ago. But you go to Islands of Adventure, you go to, with the Hulk coaster, you go now to soon to be Epic. Are those themed? Are those coasters themed? One of them has weird netting all over it.
Well, and I always argued that the Hulk coaster is exactly what Six Flags does.
100%.
Right? They paint a coaster black and yellow and call it Batman. So what's the difference between that and painting a coaster green and calling it Hulk?
Well, and sometimes Six Flags actually does a themed queue as well.
Right.
How is that any different than what Universal's doing?
Exactly.
So, I'm reserving complete judgment until I have a chance to walk through the whole park, okay? And but the things that I've seen so far, the Celestial Park area of it, I think in talking earlier, I think you brought up, OG, about Vegas, and I brought up the Atlantis in Nassau.
Right.
Celestial Park makes me think of those places because it's not like it's intricately detailed. It's not like it's a wow factor. So I don't know. I hate to. I don't want to sound like a downer just simply bashing Epic. Because again, I'm not anti-Universal. I love Universal.
So do I, yeah.
I love going to the Universal parks, and I want to see them continue to push the envelope because I want them to always challenge Disney. And Disney has its share of faults too. I mean, for too long, they rested on their laurels too much, primarily in Florida, and they didn't do their due diligence to make sure that they were keeping up with new attraction additions to the parks.
Right.
But I do think that the catch-up is now starting to happen, and you're going to see a very different experience. We won't get into, Rivers of America right now, because of course that's a hot topic. Thankfully, we will never lose our Rivers of America in California.
It's too much of a moneymaker. We're fantastic.
Well, it never will because our river is too intricately tied into so many things. A moment tangent here. We were smart here to embrace our Tom Sawyer Island and the river overall with the train and everything else to keep reinvesting in it, to keep it more relevant. Even when we did the Pirates Lair on Tom Sawyer's Island to work that into it, Florida never did that. They just, and so you kind of got to a point where the Rivers of America, who cared about it until all of a sudden, oh, we're going to close it. And now everyone cares. And it's like, well, you should have cared about it sooner.
Yeah, that's how it always is, though, right?
That's we take it for granted until somebody comes along and says, well, that's valuable land. We could do something else with it.
It's like Muppets 4D. Everyone's up in arms over that, but when's the last time you saw the show? I mean,
I love Muppets 4D,
me too,
but I can't tell you the last time I went in it.
Right? Yeah, people don't. Now they all of a sudden care.
I mean, I honestly would like to see Disney do a dedicated ride-through attraction for Muppets. I think they deserve to have that type of an
like
experience.
a Runaway Railway style.
Runaway Railway plays to that storyline better because Mickey, after all, is a cartoon character, whereas Muppets are truly puppets. They're Muppets, and they need to be in more dimensional form. So they need to be AA figures. I think in a ride through attraction. That would be and I think something along the lines of a Muppets Mayhem adventure type thing would be perfect for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
It could be a trackless ride system,
Right.
like a Runaway, but I don't think it should be screens because Muppets needs to be dimensional.
Very physical. Yeah. Yeah, and you brought up a great point. We're not here to bash Universal, but I think a lot of times the thing is that it's like Star Wars, right? You got to bring balance to the Force a little bit, and everyone is like riding the Universal, like, I don't know what you want to call it, like chill train kind of.
Well,
Or you have to offset that with some
of,
reality.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of the new kid on the block that shows up at school.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all the girls are all like, "Oh, it's
Oh my God,
oh,
she's so
whatever."
dreamy.
Yeah, and yet all the other boys who are just as cute and wonderful as this new kid was or is, they are all like yesterday's news. And it's like, oh, well, that kind of sucks for all the other kids. But yeah, I just think and now philosophically, I'll take this on with Epic. It's interesting. Like for me, I think the Dark Universe side of it is
amazing.
interesting to embrace that.
Yeah.
That is truly Universal's mainstay because that's their IP. All of those monsters are Universal monsters.
Yes, I'm glad they're leaning into their identity.
Correct.
Because
not a single other land of theirs there. Well, How to Train Your Dragon was Illumination. Right? DreamWorks. Which is sort of kind of now in-house, if you will. So maybe
it's kind of their Pixar, basically.
Yeah. So I guess that one again. But the other three have nothing to do with Universal. They're outside entities.
Right.
Which always makes it odd for Universal because you can't claim it's your own.
Right.
Whereas everything here at Disney, every single IP, and that's a whole other argument that we could have one day too, debate on that whole IP thing. But everything here is owned by Disney. You may not like Marvel, you may not like Star Wars, and that's fine. And you could say, well, gosh, that doesn't belong here. But at the end of the day, this is a different kind of Disney. Right or wrong, it's a different kind of Disney. They have a much bigger family of IPs, and there are people who want to see those come to life in their parks. It'll be interesting to see if Simpsons will come to a Disney park one day.
Well, you know what? And we talked about that, right, George? If they do Simpsons, I hope they do kind of like what they wanted to do with the Great Muppet Movie Ride, where the Muppets kind of like take over different Hollywood, like cinematic moments. If you do Simpsons like that, where you have the Great Simpson Movie Ride, and you have Homer holding up Maggie like the Lion King on Pride Rock, very meta.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. But
kind of a parody of Disney making fun of Disney, or Simpsons making fun of Disney.
Right, and they kind of do that right now with the Disney shorts on Disney Plus.
Right.
Do that, lean into that. I wouldn't want them to kind of recreate Springfield again. Like what Universal
already did it.
Yeah. I don't want that. I want them to go in a creative direction where it's like Simpsons in a different light. And what would be great is Simpsons Treehouse of Terror at Boogie Bash or something. That would be cool.
Yeah, or do a whole ride that's dedicated to Simpsons predictions.
Yeah.
That is such a hot topic right now of all, how did the Simpsons know this and how did the Simpsons know that?
Yeah.
But anyways, I digress.
There's probably an episode of The Simpsons predicting our vlog right now.
Yeah, probably.
And it's already done. It's already animated. It's already done. They knew what was going to happen before we decided to do it.
Yeah, probably an episode from 2002, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
But just a little bit, just going back to Universal side. we all remember when Islands of Adventure opened, and oh my gosh, that was the best thing since sliced bread. Apparently, no theme park in the world has ever been truly invented until Islands of Adventure was created. I mean, there are nice things about Islands of Adventure, but
even to now, like Epic Universe, just seems like a Islands of Adventure 2.0.
Yeah.
I love the IP of How to Train Your Dragon.
Well, I do want to see the show.
Yeah, I do too.
I am looking forward to seeing the show.
And the puppeteering or the animatronic or whatever that was that we saw. That dragon that we saw from the aerial shot.
Oh yeah.
That looks really cool. Yeah, that looks really cool. So there's going to be. I think Epic Universe is going to have a lot of cool elements. I think the biggest problem with Epic Universe is that expectation game. The fans have really blown up the expectations, and even you were saying too, where even like Universal themselves, you name your park Epic. I mean, come on,
you better live up to it.
You better live up to it.
And then some.
Yeah, exactly.
So, our 5 roller coasters, Epic,
right? Well, and
I'm not trying to like be mean or pick on it. I'm asking the question: Are 5 roller coasters make you Epic?
Right.
And these aren't really blow your brains out thrill roller coasters. I mean, I'm sure there's a thrill aspect to some of them.
Right.
But if you're going to get in the roller coaster business, you're either going Magic Mountain, which is the roller coaster capital of the world, or you're going to really make sure that they're immersively themed, like detailed, creative, and show elements worked into it.
Right.
I mean, just going to the Incredicoaster, whether they were even remotely successful or not with the whole backstory of Jack on Incredicoaster, at the end of the day, the designers back in the late 1990s, early 2000s that did California Screamin' meant it to be a beachfront, oceanfront, amusement park, wooden roller coaster. So you didn't have to have show elements because that's what it was.
Right.
That's the story to it. Now doing the Incredicoaster, I think it's weird, the little Jacks, that are on the camel, on the stick. I'm I'm not sure that was, well thought out and executed.
Yeah, and that was a Chapek era thing, I think,
I mean, I know you and I certainly have differences about Pixar Pier.
We do.
And I enjoy Pixar Pier because I think it's a very lively place and whatnot. I think some aspects are executed well, and I think some other aspects are maybe not as well. But going back to the coasters of what Epic's going to be, again, we'll see when it opens.
Yeah.
Maybe there are things that we're not seeing on the ground level that will be a different perspective. But what we see from the air, I just see coaster tracks that are going in and around through trees. And I'm like, what is that? I think the werewolf ride should have been like a Haggard's, where you have show elements along the way, because after all,
we're good. Thank you, Brandon.
After all, you're trying to get away from the werewolf. I would hope that's what the backstory is. You're trying to get away from the werewolf, or are you going to become a werewolf?
But the only element of the coaster itself is just entering the barn. The rest of it is just track. And you had mentioned that there's like netting around.
Yeah, there's a photo that just came out recently, an aerial photo, and it has all this netting around it. And I'm like, is this because they're afraid of things falling, or is there a show element to it? Because it doesn't make sense at all. And it looks bad.
And honestly, aside from pieces like of the queue that like it kind of gives off aesthetically to the land, but just to have a roller coaster just sitting there,
right?
I don't know. Like that just brings me back to what I was mentioning about the roller coaster for Villains. If you're going to have an aesthetically pleasing land, to have just a roller coaster track sitting out there,
right?
It's not good show.
And by the way, I would say this about any Disney park if that's what they do. If they built a roller coaster and the queue was elaborately themed, but the coaster itself, once you got on it, was kind of like, oh yeah, we planted trees around it so it fills in and it doesn't look as jarring. Okay, well that's that's me growing up and going to Marriott's Great America in Santa Clara, where the Demon was there, and there was actually themed elements on the Demon. Um, but beyond that, it's it's just a coaster. And I think you're the one who pointed it out that in Epic there's only 3 indoor attractions, right?
3 indoor attractions. I actually reconed, so 3 plus the show. So
Okay.
it's going to be Mario Kart, the Harry Potter,
Okay. Oh, and then the Frankenstein.
the Frankenstein, and then the show.
And then the show. Okay.
But still, for a park like that, that is majority outdoors in a state
Yeah.
that constantly rains.
And isn't it only roughly about 2 rides or attractions or show per land?
Well, let's see. How to Train Your Dragon has 3 plus the show.
Oh, it has 3 rides?
3 rides. It has that dragon spinner, and then it has like that boat shootout.
So 2 minor things.
Yeah.
And then a coaster.
And then the coaster, and then the show.
And then the show. So there's 4 there.
Yeah.
I know in Dark Universe it's 2.
2. Mario Kart is
2.
2. Well, Super Nintendo's 3. So there's Mario, Yoshi, and Donkey Kong.
What's Yoshi again?
It's like their interpretation of their people mover, so to speak.
Really?
Yeah, they're like little Yoshis that you ride in. That's cute for kids.
You go around the land, and I guess you
So
can
obviously
scan.
that's not here, but
Yeah.
at Hollywood. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're now at 7, 8, 9. So that's 3 lands.
Harry Potter only has the one.
Is only 1?
I think it's only one
Yeah.
one attraction.
Okay,
Ministry of Magic.
so we're at 10 attractions. And then our last one, so we did Nintendo, Dark, Harry Potter,
How to Train Your Dragon.
and what's our 5th one?
So Celestial Park has.
Wait, there's only 4 portals?
Is there
4
4 or 5?
lands?
Am I missing one? Am I missing a portal? Nintendo, Harry Potter, Dark, How to Train Your Dragon. Am I missing one? No, there's 4.
Park. That's it.
Celestial Park, and then that's the roller coaster and the merry-go-round.
So you're telling me Epic, just want to make sure that's emphasized, Epic is going to open with 13 ride shows and attractions?
Rob, yeah.
13. Disney's, and I'll use the old name, California Adventure opens with 19.
Yeah.
Okay. But to be fair, Florida Walt Disney World secondary parks also didn't open with much more than 13, 14, 15 attractions at a time as well. So I don't know if that's a Florida thing, but that just seems a little non-epic to me.
It's definitely like for us Californians.
Yeah.
You know, us Californians for sure. But it's like the other thing too is a lot of people, like at least from the, what is it, TEA attendance numbers?
Oh, TEA. Yeah, TIA. I think that's how you say it.
Yeah, where it's like Islands of Adventure is only pulling DCA numbers. They do like 9, 10 million
That's
a year.
if we can believe their numbers.
And that's if we can believe their numbers.
Remember,
exactly.
no theme park company releases numbers. TIA numbers are all estimates.
Right, exactly. But even if we were to believe their numbers, I mean, like, this is Universal. Arguably, Island of Adventure is their best part, and it's pulling DCA numbers. I mean, isn't that an issue? Like, I mean, I don't know. I see something wrong with that.
I agree with you, although I think here, you want me to come up a little as you're taking your drink? Yeah, I question the legitimacy of their estimated numbers on TIA because Islands up until Potter opening, Islands was pulling $5 million a year. Their studio side was pulling about $5 million a year as well. Okay, that was, by the way, with HHN numbers included.
Wow.
Maybe the studio side might be a little bit more, but not much. But they're secondary parks to even Walt Disney World. At the end of the day, like it or not, accept it or not, the fact is Disney World is still the king in Florida as far as who they attract as tourists coming to Orlando.
Right.
It's always going to be that way.
Yeah.
And it's, there's a philosophical reason for that. Disney is catering to the entire family. We can debate and discuss another day
Right.
the things of Disney today versus the things of Disney, 15, 20 years ago, and maybe mistakes Disney has made today versus back then or whatever. But at the end of the day, Disney caters predominantly to the entire family.
Right.
When a family goes into a Disney park, they can still, for the most part, get the experience of what Walt Disney intended back in 1955, and that is the family members being able to go on most of the rides, shows, and attractions together.
Right.
I went to Universal with my mom and some other friends who had various age groups, a few years ago. We went into both parks. Thank God I got free park hopper tickets. Majority of the stuff, any one of us either couldn't go or weren't interested in going because it was a coaster,
Right.
or it was a the big log ride that's the oversized Jurassic Park water ride, or
there's always something. Even the Harry Potter stuff is pretty intense.
I have friends who can't make it on the Harry Potter stuff because of their size.
Yes, they squeeze you in. That's the thing. I'm a skinny dude, and I have a hard time on the Harry Potter. I get very claustrophobic. I can't sit in that little cubby hole
Yeah.
Not to mention, they really push down on those bars,
Yes.
where you can't move. I mean,
Which, if you have anxiety issues with that,
yeah.
you're done.
Well, and the thing
Yeah.
with me is I don't really have too much of anxiety. It's I'm a guy, and I have certain things
down there
down there that is
that need to work properly, and Universal ain't helping.
I mean, you are getting married in 7 years, so it would be better for you to.
I don't need to turn into a division sign.
No, you don't. But you don't need your future wife to wonder. But I think that part of the discussion that oftentimes gets lost in a lot of these debates back and forth is, Universal now is on par with Disney.
Yeah.
I mean, are they definitely pushing the envelope for the Universal, and are they heading in that same direction? Absolutely. When it comes to theming, when it comes to the level of experience on their attractions compared to where they were 20 years ago, 25 years ago, 100%.
Yeah.
But Universal doesn't understand the basic fundamental of what makes a successful theme park click on all levels.
They don't.
Why does Magic Mountain never get above a certain attendance level?
Right.
Why does Knott's Berry Farm, that used to be at one time the second most attended park in California, even ahead of Universal Studios?
Wow.
Why is that now down number 4, number 5?
Yeah.
Because at one point, back in the 90s, one of their leaders that got hired came from Magic Mountain, Six Flags, and he decided that he was going to start pushing coasters and thrill rides. That's not a family park.
Right.
And so that compromised Knott's Berry Farm being known as that family park. It's a family-friendly park, but it's not a family park in the sense that everybody can ride everything together.
Exactly.
Now, that doesn't mean that you aren't going to have certain attractions or rides that, Grandma's usually not going to go on Space Mountain.
No.
Okay? But Disneyland also has 55 to 60 ride shows and attractions.
Well, yeah, and what is the Pirates of the Caribbean? What's the Haunted Mansion of Epic Universe? They don't have one.
Right.
They don't have one. And
What
that's
is
the
that
problem.
Epic e-ticket?
Right.
And you can say it's Frankenstein.
But that's not for everybody.
Correct. Because a certain age group is not going to go on that. Regardless of the ride system, a certain age group is not going to go on it because they're going to be too scared.
Well, yeah, they're even saying that they're going to be scare actors on that thing.
So
I mean, who's gonna?
So
I
how
mean,
are you going to get a 7-year-old
No, they
who
can't.
already has issues going on Pirates because of the darkness and the drop sometimes?
They can't.
They're not going to go on that.
No.
And they're literally calling it a PG-13 ride. Universal's already like stating that this is, if you were to rate it like a movie, it's PG-13. So the demographic already right there is 13 and above.
Right.
So you're limiting, as you had mentioned, capacity because you're not going to get families with young kids on there.
Right. What is one of the most popular attractions that hardly anyone can go on at Islands of Adventure? You don't know this because you haven't been there, right?
Say it one more time.
What is the most popular attraction that hardly anyone can go on at Islands of Adventure?
Forbidden Journey.
No.
Oh, am I missing one?
It's the one that flies through Jurassic Park area.
Oh, the pterodactyl,
Yeah.
Petrodon things.
So when Islands first opened, its capacity was so low that everyone wanted to go on it because, for one thing, it was something that all age groups at that time could go on. And it wasn't something that was like, unless you're afraid of heights, which, it's not terribly bad, but it was a unique experience that wasn't common anywhere else. It wasn't overly thrilling, so you didn't scare off the little ones and you didn't scare off grandma, but it had really crappy capacity. So that's when they were like, oh, if you're over this height, you can't go on it. So that's why I say it's the most popular attraction that hardly anyone can go on. It's, these are the things that I don't know. I think Universal Creative gets excited about, we're going to go out there and we're going to show Disney how much better we can be.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate the passion. I appreciate the energy, but
where are the discussions behind the scenes as to, but what will this do for the audience?
Right.
How will this play to the audience?
Yeah.
How will this be accepting by the audience?
Right.
And if you aren't taking that into consideration, you are about to open a park in May that out of the 13 ride shows and attractions, your average family is going to be able to experience
how many of those?
Maybe 5 together?
Right.
Maybe?
And that's if it doesn't rain.
And that's if it doesn't rain.
I mean,
Which as of right now, that you have to buy, either you're an annual pass holder, or
Are you going into the ticketing part now?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, or you have to buy a minimum of a 2 or 3 day.
I think OG said 3 days.
Was it 3?
yeah, I think it's 3 days. Yeah.
I better check that because the guy sold me a 2 day.
Oh. Maybe he's pocketing your 3rd day.
Maybe, yeah. So technically, I'm paying for the 3rd day.
Yeah.
But it's like
He's enjoying his 1 day on your diet.
Yeah. But that essentially you have to buy a whole package.
Yeah.
Go to the parks that I've already been to,
Right.
which it's not updated.
Right.
But you're going to get rained out on the day of Epic Universe. And you
Right.
can't say, oh, I can just come back
Correct.
because I have to buy another whole package.
Because you only get the one of those multi-day tickets at Epic, right? Is that how it works? You're only getting just 1 day at Epic out of
One
your...
Epic per package.
Yeah. I mean, I think Universal is a little too over cocky on their whole ticketing strategy anyways. And I think that they're starting to get backlash for it. I think if their parks were strong enough standalones on their own, you should have been able to naturally be able to sell vacation packages to cover all of your parks and stay in Universal hotels. But if you look at the hotel rates, they're a lot cheaper than Disney because they're still trying to entice people to come over and stay there. And if they're forcing you by using Epic to force you into multi-day tickets, that's not a good strategy.
That's pretty bad of a look on Universal's other parks.
Yeah,
Because it's
not
like we have to force you to go to these other parks.
it's not a confidence builder that you're saying that your other two parks are, can stand on their own. So you're saying out of all these years, islands of 23, 4 years, Universal Studios, let's see, that opened in 1991. No, 1990. Gosh, I can't remember all these dates. So all this time, you're telling me that you haven't been able to build as big of an audience that they can stand on their own?
Right.
No, because at the end of the day, and I hate to say it to all you Universal fanboys, Universal is a secondary level experience to Walt Disney World.
It is.
And that's just the way it is.
It is, yes.
It's not saying that the Universal parks are not as good. I'm not saying Universal parks suck. Not at all. Not at all. But again, I go back to the philosophy of the approach on how they entertain their guests.
Exactly. No, it's different. And I think Universal has really kind of overstepped with this 3-day thing. I don't think people want to dedicate, most families don't want to dedicate 3 days of their Orlando vacation to Universal.
No.
And we're seeing that on social media. A lot of people are upset that they can't just buy Epic Universe a la carte.
Yeah.
That's when I started noticing it was going down. Like, as far as like the demand of talking about Epic Universe.
Yeah.
When they started noticing that they had to kind of force themselves into a vacation, it's like a lot of people's like, we don't want to go to islands again.
Right.
We don't want to go to the studios. We want to go to Epic.
So have I pissed off a lot of people?
Oh, don't worry about it. I piss off the Universal fanboys every day on OGPT.
I'm not intending to. That is not not my goal. And trust me, there could be a whole other discussion some other time about the pet peeves I have right now at Disney and some of the really not so smart decisions that they're making. It really irritates me that Disneyland Resort right now has no major staged show.
Right.
You have the best, most sophisticated black box theater out of any Disney park, and that even includes Tokyo Disney Seas, right here at the Hyperion, and it is sitting empty, and that's a disgrace.
Yeah,
that's a disgrace.
It's empty since
we don't even have. I'll probably get some hate from some of my internal friends, but for the first time since 1991, we will not have a daytime park going down Main Street.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
I'm not going to tell you why. I mean, I'm excited that Paint the Night's coming back.
Yeah, me too.
I love Paint the Night. I wish we would finally burn to the ground Electrical Parade, but that won't happen because it's a classic.
It's a classic.
But I'm excited that Paint the Night's coming back. But to not have a daytime parade at Disneyland
is that's a money saving thing. It has to be because they used to do that all.
I can neither confirm or deny, but I just will say that it was not a right decision. In my opinion, it was not a right decision.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have no new show at Fantasyland Theater, we have no new show in the Hyperion Theater. I mean, Rogers the Musical should be returned.
Yes.
It was a great original musical. It was fun. It has great music. That should be in the Hyperion right now.
Yeah.
Shout out to Christopher Lenertz, who did the music for Rogers the Musical and also for Wondrous Journey. So have to give a shout out to Christopher Lenertz.
Wondrous Journeys is like the best, one of my favorite fireworks shows.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that returning as well. I love Wondrous Journeys. It can't come fast enough because I'm ready to if I could digitally burn Mickey's Mix Magic, I would.
If I've seen grown men cry at the Pooh ending, you know what I'm saying?
Don't tell me they were Disney adulting.
Oh, they probably were Disney adults. Yeah, they probably were.
I was gonna say, were you saying that grown men cry with Mickey's Mix Magic because I think they're crying for a different reason?
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, no, those are, I have my my pet peeves and grievances about some decisions that Disney makes as well, and and I will only say this because I know many within the company, and none of them are making decisions because they're trying to be, you know, bad people or
No.
whatever. And I know that the easy topic by a lot of fan people is, oh well, Disney's not doing this because they're just being cheap, or whatever. And I will tell you, this company spends by and large way more money than any other theme park company. Universal still doesn't even come close to the expenditures that Disney has in their theme parks. There's just no way. I'm sorry, but there's no way that they do.
Well, look. I mean, look. The proof is in the pudding. I mean, they built Epic Universe, right? I mean, I'm hearing it's $7 billion or whatever the figure was, but
How much?
$7 billion is what I'm hearing.
Okay, no.
No. but
Not
yeah,
even in Orlando, no.
right. And here's the thing. But they haven't done.
I mean, the land costs like $1.95 an acre to buy. Give me a break. They had
Right?
to move a few alligators, and there you go.
Well, and here's the thing: they haven't. But even, I mean, they haven't invested in their other parks, though, and that's the problem.
No.
You haven't seen a big investment in IOA. You haven't seen a big investment in the
What
studios.
what were the last attractions in both of those parks?
What, Velocicoaster?
And when was that? And when was that?
2019.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then Studios,
The Minion thing, the cheap little Minion villain con thing, right?
which
Or
was
the dream,
before Velasquez.
or the DreamWorks land.
Yeah. I guess you could say the DreamWorks.
But that would cost them like $35.
But I mean, but if you look at it, it's where's the investment? And I'm not even talking about attraction investment, okay?
Right.
Notwithstanding, we are missing major shows out here that we should be having out here in California. So that part, Disneyland, get on the ball and get the shows. Because here's the deal: outside of the Disney Cruise Line, Disneyland Resort has always had the best stage shows of any parks. Maybe notwithstanding Paris, because Paris does a pretty damn good job as well in their shows. Japan does a good job, but they're just so typical Japanese
I love
spectacles. They're very glitzy, Vegasy, whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
But Disneyland Resort has always had the best stage shows. Even on the old Videopolis stage as Fantasyland Theater. We have always, Beauty and the Beast on Broadway came from our Beauty and the Beast show here. That's how amazing our talent has been from here. Our parades have always been, notwithstanding Japan, because they like to spend a lot of money on their parades. They're always spectacles. But out of all of the park parades, typically ours has been usually the top of the line.
Right.
And the fact that we don't have it is it's a travesty.
Yeah, it is. Magic Happens is amazing. I love that parade.
Magic Happens is a great parade.
Oh, it's catchy. George and I were dancing. We were dancing. We had people next to us dancing with us.
We did.
That one girl, we had a blast that one day.
That is such a catchy tune.
Oh my gosh.
I mean,
so
I do
good.
have friends on the inside who hate that parade, and we usually will debate it and give each other a hard time about it. But I love the parade. I love the fact that they actually pushed the envelope and did something different.
Right.
And still did it with a level of, class and a level of. They spent some money on that parade. There's no doubt about it. Even the costumes are elaborately done.
Right.
And then that's what it goes back to. When I say spending money, and not even just on shows and attractions and stuff, but the general everyday expenditure that this, Disney spends in these parks is exorbitant. Yeah. I mean, they just don't understand. And the Disney cast members, that's a whole other topic. We won't get into that part. But are there areas that sometimes Disney does make a cheap decision? Yeah, absolutely. They do. They're a company. They're not perfect, and they do make some boneheaded decisions.
Yeah.
But as you and I had talked about before, Universal, we always said They go all the way up to the
Yes.
finish line, and then they stop short.
They stop. Then they get a big boxy building. They paint it gray.
Exactly. And then somebody comes along and says, "Oh, but they painted it."
Yeah, they painted it.
Yeah,
Oh,
but it's still a show building. I can still see it.
Yeah.
You know, it
They
doesn't
did that-
magically go away.
Right, and they did that in Hollywood with Wizarding World. We've
Right.
seen that, right?
Right. Oh, but they put fake bricks on the side.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh. And if
So-
Disney did that, can you imagine?
Well, what Disney would have done is that they would have, certainly you could do the fake bricks, but they would have put, if you're going to still continue to make it look like a castle, you put turrets on the end. So it doesn't look like it's square, you know, a square wall.
Right, exactly.
So that's the only part. But we'll see when Epic opens. I'll give it a fair shake.
Yeah, me too.
I'm not gonna like just flat out say that it's a bad park already.
No.
But I do have some legitimate reservations, only based on the patterns and the history of what Universal has done.
Right.
So
I think it'll be a good park in and of itself. But I think the problem is going to be Universal's expectations are that this is going to make them a 3 and 4 day resort. I don't think the general public has an appetite for that. I really don't. Not for Universal. You know what I'm saying?
And honestly, I'm going. I'm going to be a little bit biased and say, I'm going on the first day. But I'm more so curious.
How dare you?
Yeah. And
Did Brian Roberts pay you to do that, George?
yeah, it's a little bit of that extra special access. But I'm curious to see how the operations go. We talked about with like the portals into each land. It's more so, from our understanding, it's one way in, one way out. So you basically have
And if that is
four
the
dead
case, that is an operational nightmare. A dead end in a park is not a good design.
Yeah, we'll see
And,
how
and
that
Disney
works.
knows that as well, because they've created dead ends that they've had to fix over time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a good design. So, however, with that said, I expect Epic to have its share of operational challenges in the beginning, because every park does. I don't care even if it's Disney.
No,
Every park has its operational challenges in the beginning, because everybody acts differently in a different park, as far as their approach. You'll find what they like and what they don't like. And, are they going to be able, how many can go into each one of the lands? And are you cutting them off at the portal entrance? And where are you queuing them up? And if it really is truly one way in, one way out, God help those operations team members that are going to have to figure this out.
Well, Georgia, you'll be there opening day. You'll be on the ground reporting on it.
Yes, I will be. I'll
You're gonna be live, right?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking of maybe trying to do a live to kind of like show people along with me, because sometimes it does get a little bit lost in translation when you're trying to explain something. But if you actually can visually show to say like how well or underperforming the operations go, because I expect there's going to be lots of hiccups, and not just the hiccup in How to Train Your Dragon, but that's the main character.
How to train your team member. I'm just kidding.
But I'm very curious to see
My gosh.
how it turns out. I'm excited, but I know that I'm going to go in there, with the mentality that I'm not going to be able to do everything,
Right.
But there are people that are banking on doing everything because they're traveling possibly from afar.
Well, they only got one day.
That's it. They only got one, unless they wanted to do 2 sets of 3 days and go twice. But
No.
But good conversation, Italiano.
yeah, it was. Oh, sorry. Yeah, it was a really good one. We basically went for an hour talking about it. So yeah, at the Lamplight Lounge bar, having some drinks, shooting the shit, talking Disney, Epic Universe, and definitely comment down below. Tell us your thoughts, opinions, likes, dislikes.
What's on your mind, George? My God.
You gotta remember, bro, I've been drinking. There's some heavy stuff in there. Likes, dislikes. We just ask you to keep it civil. Comment down below. Like, subscribe, smash that notification bell. And as I always say, as I always say in Italiano fashion, stay healthy, stay safe, stay Disney. Italiano out.